Adopt the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have an agenda. Next thing is Pledge of Allegiance. Flag over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In our district, we like to share good things whenever we gather. We do that in the classroom. We do that here at board meetings as well. Anyone have any good things they'd like to share about the district or the community? I'll share one. We had a couple of FFA members get selected. Trey and Cody, both as a regional president for FFA and as regional parliamentarian. So St. James continues to be well representative when we're in other groups. Anyone else?
I've got some good news, the fact that we have school buses moving again and kids in the building.
Very good news. Anyone else?
Have a thank you letter from one of our teachers, Miss Sarah Watson, just thanking the school board for all the hard work that you guys are doing and making difficult decisions this summer, and for all the support that you continue to show our staff. So it's a very nice letter. It'll be up here if you want to read it.
Okay. If that's it, we will continue along with our meeting. Need to know, do we have any statements from patrons, John?
See none.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda approval. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Got a motion?
Second.
Got a second from Justin?
Hey, Carl.
Okay. All right. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the list, probably one of our most important this evening, is recognitions. We've got a number of individuals with us that we'd like to recognize for their service. I normally announce that we're losing a significant amount of experience with all our retirees, and I'm duly impressed with how many hours and years that are put in, but this year was almost overwhelming. There are 13 retirees we have from the district. We are losing just 5 years shy of 300 years of service to public schools. So thank you all very much for your dedication and commitment. We're going to miss all of your experience. Dr. Johnson?
All right, so for the purpose of the live stream, I'm going to come over this way so that so we can hear, and so those that are out there that are listening can hear and just hear the numbers, because like Carl was saying, almost 300 years, and you can't replace that with people that give their lives, their careers to help kids. And so there's not enough thank yous that we can give you, and the appreciation for people that want to help kids. No matter who you are in school business, a teacher, a para, a secretary, bus drivers, anybody that's in the school business, you're helping kids, and we appreciate that. So we're going to start out with one of our high number. We have them here in alphabetical, no, somehow, some kind of order, I'm not sure. So Teresa Conway, come on up. Teresa, 30 years of service. And I did get a little information. She started out in SPED, right, in the SPED world. 16 years, first grade, 13 years as third grade teacher. You had even almost 30 students one year, and that was a great class. So you've done almost everything. How many different superintendents have you worked for?
I lost count.
I think we have 5, and then we have, how many principals did you work for? 5. Is it 5? Yeah, I never did get that one. He was doing the background information there, being a little bit sneaky and everything. But you have, your fingerprints are all over the district. We can say that about several others, but there's not enough words, like I say, to thank you for all the great work you've done. There you go. I'm used to shaking hands. And we actually smiled. Yeah, mine's infrared. Next, we have Diane Stammers. Diane Stammers, 22 years in education, the last 5 at St. James. I did try to get some dirt from Joe, but for some reason he wouldn't give me anything because I think he's scared of what would happen later. Safety first. So, but Diane has brought in just a great just energy, and she's a fun person, and the kids love her, and she's going to be missed by all the staff. And I know that. Do you have anything to say? It's your opportunity to say whatever you want to say. Wait till next year when Joe retires. Okay. So you will get the information. We're not going to shake hands. Miss Carol Goad. Now, Carol, a total of 21 years in education, and you started your career out in Arizona, right? In Arizona at a preschool, is that correct?
Yep, 2 years of preschool.
And so, and the rest of your career right here at St. James, and we're going to miss you. She always has a big smile. I know you can't see it, but I'm sure she's smiling right now. Always a big smile. Kids love her. Adaptable. She's always willing to do new things. And so, yeah, we're missing so many good people this year. It's going to be tough to replace you.
I did 4th grade.
Come on up, so we can hear you.
I did 4th grade, then kindergarten, then 5th grade, and then the last 11 years in the speech language department. So pre-K through 5th for all that.
And that's what we're talking about, adaptability,
Yeah.
always willing to do whatever we need. So
And I got to actually start with Teresa. I was a para for 3 months with Teresa, so this is great. And then I taught kindergarten with Terry, so wonderful way to go out with some great
that's
great
awesome.
people.
That's awesome. So we'll do the little photo op
All
thing
right.
here.
I'm
Thank you, Carol.
smiling. You
Thank
smiling?
Carol. Smiling.
Thank
You
you.
can see the wrinkles in her face. All right, next we have Miss Terry Bunyard. So here we are, this is a big number here, 27 years, all St. James. Is that correct? All St. James. I did get a little information. You started out in SPED. And then you moved to the middle school and high school, and you had a lot of those same kids as you got up, and you knew them really well. Even one of them made a comment that, what was the comment that the one kid made about being grumpy? What was that? And so that kid, you knew very well, said, you need to get married. And you did. And then that kid was, and some others were in your wedding, actually. 2 students were ushers. So that's awesome. People that have those connections, our teachers have connections with kids, not just at school, but in their personal lives. And just the stories that I have heard about Terry and how she cares about, sends when kids are sick, sending notes home and sending presents home to little babies and things like that. When one of your students would have a baby, you send presents home. So those are just special things that people don't know about our teachers. So like I say, these things can't be replaced, and we're going to miss you. So. we have Miss Betty Jones, and she works for School Nutrition, and she is not here, but Betty, we're going to miss her. She did great work for several years, and she just decided to retire, so we'll miss Betty. Miss Julie Kirby. All right, so Julie is the face of the high school. We're going to miss the face of the high school, and she was the, really, all the rules that no one wanted to enforce, she enforced them, right? So McDonald's, we're not letting McDonald's in, and they have to sign in, and the kids are actually going to miss that, because kids do like rules. So we're going to miss, how many total years do we have for you? 24 total years, and you've worked. All St. James. Okay. So the Kirby's are good people. I know where Jack's from, down in southeast Missouri, and know some of his relatives. And I hope you guys have an awesome retirement. I know you're retired now, so you're gonna have some good times together. So working on that deck, right?
The deck's painted.
And you have anything to say? You can say anything you
Well,
want.
I just got to say thank you all so much for giving me these opportunities to serve this school district. It's been a wonderful stint for me, and looking at the board, and 2 of you guys have been students while I've been there, and our assistant superintendent, and it's like, wow, how can I be that old? But love you guys, and thank you so much for everything.
Kind of a strange picture here. Thank you. Next we have Jill Bear. So not only are we losing Julie, but her partner in crime at the high school office, who's doing everything. I mean, she takes care of almost every major task on every corner of the high school, and we're going to miss her. But Jill is just a solid individual, and I mean, what she says is what she means, and she's so steady and stable and consistent, and we're going to miss that. So, and a total of 19 years for Jill. I know. Did you do some other things besides work? You did a lot of things, right?
I moved around a lot. Till we got to St. James.
No? you actually moved around a lot because you're married to Carl, who decided to be the baby he is to go everywhere. So Jill is someone who can adapt and do anything. Obviously, we asked her to do about everything. So thank you for your service. Mr. David Bond. 27 total years in education, all, well, not 27 at St. James, or 27 total?
27 total, 16 at St. James.
Okay, 16 at St. James. Now, he's got, if you've ever sat down with David Bond and just had a conversation, he'll educate you, because this guy has been all over the world. He's done some really awesome things for kids, and he's just a unique guy and has a great sense of humor, and his personality will be sorely missed. And do you have anything you'd like to say to the board? You don't have to.
You want to hear a cross-country story? No, you don't.
Yeah, they do.
No, you don't. Do you really? No, you don't.
We want to hear it. We want to hear cross country. I love cross country. Tell us.
They used to make fun of me because we would have recognitions, and I would bring the cross-country team every year, and then I would be nervous, and I would tell some crazy story. And then they would laugh at me. So I'll give you one more shot, I guess. We were working out on Catherine Drive in Valley View on a hot September day. And I'm running up the hill, and I see one of the boys has stopped. And his name is Clinton Warnell. And I stopped and I said, "Clinton, are you okay?" And he said, "Coach, I want to ask you a question. Whenever we work out, all the boys take their shirts off, but you always leave your shirt on. What's the deal with that?" It's about 106 degrees, and I'm half crazy, so forgive me. But I told the boy that I had 6 nipples. And he said, "Like a cat?" I said, no, more like a possum. I'm a marsupial. And then I took off running. I got about halfway up the hill, and I heard him yelling after me, Coach, I won't tell no one.
That's the stuff right there.
Yeah.
That's the stuff right there that we love and we're going to miss about you. So don't be a stranger. All right.
Thank you, man.
Picture time. We have Tammy Sawyer. Tammy, make it. Now, Tammy, I guess she didn't make it. She's 22 years. I'm not sure if that was all at St. James, but she's a big personality. Worked in the special education department. Great job, and she's the teacher that would go to Wisconsin, and everybody knew it when she'd go to Wisconsin for multiple reasons.
At least 17 in St. James is what I'm thinking.
17 in
At
St.
least
James.
17 in St. James.
You know that.
Yeah.
You know that.
She helped out when Joe Campbell, she stepped in for Joe when he went on his first tour.
So we know that she spent many years here at St. James. So you'll be missed. And last, definitely not least, is Miss Jane Worstel. Miss Jane, 12 years, but she brought with her a lifelong, just years of experience. Not saying that, I'm not saying that you're, no, we're not doing that. But her years of experience were worth so much to us. And she tried to retire. Well, you tried to retire, 2 years ago? A year ago? And so we keep asking her to come back, and she trained Lindsay, but she's officially gone. And she's such a special lady. She's so kind, and just she's been an extra mother for me. So, and I know she's done that to a lot of people within our district. Anyone that knows her, there's a special thing about Miss Jane, and we're gonna miss her. So, here you go, Miss Jane. Your long-deserved retirement. You might need to really retire. Okay. That is it, and I would like, for the school district, we're very sorry that we didn't have a normal retirement appreciation. This is too bad. That a lot of things that we're not able to do because of COVID, and it is one of those things. It's going to be a memory that we'll always remember. There will be something, since we didn't want to do it. We typically have a meal with the spouse. Since we don't want to encourage the gathering and people eating, there is going to be something special coming your way within the next month. So just know that there's something coming your way from the school district to further show you our appreciation for all the things that you've done over the years. Like I said, there's not enough thank yous. I don't know if any of the board members have anything else to say, but I think Chris might want to have a picture. And so Chris, he did say, if anyone's uncomfortable with the group picture, that you don't have to be in the picture, but he would like to do some kind of picture. If we have masks, so it might be okay, or we can do individual pictures. So, Chris, what do you think? Group picture? Just a round of applause for all the retirees. Thank you all.
Larry's done. He's out of there. Okay, we're gonna continue to move along, but I'm gonna sidestep one thing. We just said goodbye to a whole bunch of people, but I want to say welcome aboard officially to our new Assistant Superintendent, Tim Webster. We're looking forward to great things with you. So, welcome to St. James officially, or welcome back, I guess. Okay, next item on the agenda is presentations, and we're going to get a project update from Franco and Dick Wells. So, you guys take it away. Let us know what's going on.
Hello everyone, my name's Eric. I'm the project manager here for Branco. Just give you guys a quick update. I think things are coming along pretty well at the high school and early childhood. I think that early childhood will be available to turn over to the school probably the first week of August. So I think that's everything over there is looking pretty good. We went on a walk today. They have flooring down, the whiteboards are on the walls, just a few odds and ends items to finish up. I think everything's looking pretty good. I think everybody's happy with the progress that's going on. Same at the high school. Our goal is to have all of the main area buildings, the gym, the practice gym, the art room, the choir room, those things turned back over hopefully by around the 18th of August, roughly in there. As we get things done, we're going to let Wes know. That way they can come in and start doing their stuff. We're not going to say, oh, here's everything all at once. If something's done, we'll let them know so they can come in and move forward. Some other good news we have is by, kind of watching the funds everywhere, we have been able to give a voluntary deduct from the construction management contingency back to the school contingency. So we've gave them $130,000 for unforeseen circumstances and things to use at, Merlin and your guys' discretion for unforeseen circumstances and things that may arise. So hopefully we can get some issues that arise covered and not increase our GMP. So besides that, I think everything's going well over there. I think everybody's pleased with the progress. We did have a slight delay on, they were supposed to pour the flooring in some of the building, but the company was supposed to do it. They had 2 trucks. They crashed one of those. So slight delay there, but I don't think it's going to delay the project because we've continued moving forward with other things that would have been done after. So we looked earlier. I think they're going to be starting to paint walls and things up on the 2nd floor. And we're going to, I'll try to get you guys a better update on the exact time on that. It's hard to tell right now with some of the, we're waiting on the elevator shaft to go up and they have to set some steel and some things like that. But we'll get those things turned over as soon as we can, but I'll keep Wes, Merlin updated on the progress there. Got anything?
I'm Brandon. I look like a bandit. But I was just going to say, from the outside, you guys driving by, it probably looks like a mess because it's a construction site. But this project really is going to be an amazing project when it's done. The school is, the old school is going to be completely renovated and turned upside down. And I think it's going to be really, really good. You can start to see how it's coming together as you walk through what's going to be the new atrium that separates the old from the new, or the newest, and the natural light and the clean air. And I just think the whole cleanliness of the project when it's done is going to be a really big improvement, and we're really excited about it. So I think it's going to be awesome. And the early childhood looks awesome. Like he said, it's wrapping up. So first week of August, you guys are going to be able to see what this thing's going to be looking like completed, and it's really good as well. So we're super excited about that, and we're just here to answer any questions if you have them.
Are you Eric? Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so a concrete date on the downstairs, upstairs, and auditorium. I know you said you'd get to that to us. How long do you think before we can have that? Because we've kind of gotten a runaround and some conflicting dates lately.
Well, they're actually supposed to be coming to do the gypcrete, which is what the delay was. It's just kind of a skim coat on the floor. It's like a concrete. They're actually coming next Friday to prep that. They're supposed to pour it Monday, and then they're going to continue painting walls and things. We won't be able to get it as early as we possibly could because we have to, the air conditioning units and things that run that go on the roof of like the atrium area out there, and we have to set the steel and things for that before we can hook up the units. We have to have the units running in there before they can lay the flooring and put in the ceiling tile and do some things like that. So essentially there'll be a lot of things in there done, but the finishing touches will have to wait until the air conditioning units are up and running, and we have to have that steel set out there, and they've been working diligently on that to try to get that done. But you have to have like the elevator shaft in and some things like that where they can start setting the steel and then working their way out of that corner, because you have to start in there and then kind of work out. If not, you can't reach it. So it will be, a little bit on that. I would say 2 or 3 months before they get that, but hopefully we can have it within then. You're welcome.
Just a quick question regarding the steel. When do you think that I'm thinking major construction items being done and school starting back up. How do you see that comparing? You think you'll have most of that steel set for the atrium before we're back in school the end of August, or are we still going to be
Well,
setting
they're actually going to start setting steel next week. They're going to put the stairs in that go up to the floor. That's number one. Then they're going to start on the addition to the auditorium. They're going to set the joists so they can put the roof and stuff on there. And then they're probably going to start kind of setting some stuff, working their way out of that area. But before they can set the units, they have to set the steel, they have to put the roof decking on, they have to put the actual roof on, and then set the units up there, and then they have to hook those all up before they can actually run them, and then it'll have to acclimate and get all the moisture out of there. They do moisture test on the floor before they put any flooring down and things like that. So they won't have all the steel set before school starts. I find that very doubtful. There's a lot of steel. You've probably seen out in the parking lot over there. There's a lot of steel there. A lot of that is for like the risers and things and the seating in the auditorium. But there is some, structural steel that's going to go down the alleyway and the atrium and things like that. So they won't have it all set by the time school starts for sure, but they should have the bulk of it. And that's one of our goals, is to try to get all that stuff out of the parking lot before school starts, or as much of it as possible.
That was one of my other questions.
Yes.
Clearing that out, because I know you're limited in staging area.
But there shouldn't be any steel hoisted over the existing building where
No, there
kids
won't
would
be. No.
You guys are gonna be in the atrium marching down, keeping contained.
Yes.
So you
Yep.
won't be, I wanted to make sure that they understood, there's no safety concerns.
No, none at all. They'll be
On your
they'll be
standpoint.
swinging over the empty area if they have to swing any steel over.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I would like to compliment Eric on doing a great job coming in new the last few months, and he's really, I feel like he's sped up the process. He's very proactive. He's done a great job. Branko has done a great job communicating and with Dake Wells. Things are really moving right now, quicker and better than it was there for a while. We felt like we didn't see a lot of progress. Any of you, even after the meeting today, I'll take you on a tour, and you'd be amazed at what you would see right now, the progress that's happening. So I'm feeling it's been tough to be I guess in any project. You sometimes get down a little bit because you want it to move faster. It's been a little bit more positive lately as far as starting to get excited, but we're still not there yet because can't truly visualize that atrium yet when you're walking through it. We're getting close.
You get to certain points on these projects, though, where things really start taking shape, like early childhood, you're like, okay, there's a shell here for a long time, and then you go today and you're like, okay, they have flooring down, they have the boards up on the walls, the paint's done, they got the the molding around the edges, you know, I mean, the tile's laid, you know, all the tile over there is about laid, you know, I mean, it's just comes together pretty rapidly, and it's good to see, you know.
Early childhood is looking awesome. Very excited right now about that. The parking lot just got finished, and there, you know, the finishing touches still, you know, the paint and parking lanes and stuff need to be done, but it's really moving along.
Thanks for the compliment too, Merlin.
One more quick question for you. As far as connections and city utilities, et cetera, we still have an electric move that has to occur. That's gonna be a pretty major one for the building yet, right?
Yeah, they're kind of waiting on that because they're going to have to shut down power because I know this sounds very dangerous, and it is, but like the main power they're running to the old new school over there has to go under the existing transformer. So there's a bunch of, all the lines run into that transformer, or none of them are even in conduit or anything, so they have to dig or bore underneath that. So they're going to have to, for safety reasons, you know, shut all the power down in order to make that connection. So hopefully they get that done fairly soon, and they've been trying to coordinate that, you know, to not have many delays, and not because it's going to shut everything down, of course, you know, as far as power for until they get that board underneath there, then they can turn it back on. It's just, it's not, they're not really going to have, they wouldn't have to turn off the power, but for safety reasons, they are going to.
Is that the only major thing that we have yet then?
As far as I know, that's about the most major thing. I think that they, looking at the water meter and things today over at early childhood, I don't think we have any issues with anything else. That, to me, that's would be the only thing of any worry at all.
Okay. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Other questions? Appreciate the update, guys. Appreciate all the work, too.
Thank you, guys.
Good. Have a good evening. All right, well, we'll move along to our action topics. First one on the agenda is setting the August tax rate hearing. And need a motion to set that hearing.
I'll make the motion.
Oh, we'll be making that, if I can get this up. That would be at 5:55 on August 20th, or just prior to the other board meeting. So a motion from Tina.
Second.
I have a second. Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is a return to school plan. Dr. Johnson and the administrative staff and numerous other people have put together a pretty comprehensive back-to-school plan. I'd like a motion to approve that plan to get us back in school in August.
I'll make a motion.
A motion?
Second.
Second from John. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I do have a question. I know there are gonna be lots of questions, but, okay, so if there is a COVID test positive, how, I understand, like, the high school would shut the whole building down, to my understanding, correct?
Okay, well,
Help me.
let me get started here.
Okay.
And we'll get to that question. So there's so many different scenarios. Test positive, yeah, we're going to have to act. So really what we're doing here is we just need to make an announcement to the public, to our parents, that we're planning on having school. And we're planning on having school based on the calendar that the board approved to start a seated school on August the 25th, which is Tuesday. And so based on the survey that we put out about a month ago, the majority of the parents indicated that they, about 80% indicated that definitely we want to go back to seated, and we had another 10% had some concerns. And then there's about 10% that really would rather do online if we could do something like that. So we've been gathering information, reading, talking to local, our county health officials at the health departments, neighboring school districts, reading CDC guidelines. And so, yes, as Carl was saying, we're welcome to Mr. Webster to your new school. And then one of his first tasks that I asked him to help me with is to take over the actual reopening plan, which is, he's done an outstanding job, working really hard, involving as many stakeholders as possible under the circumstances, with trying to limit people being together so much. But so going to the positive test, so when there's a positive test, you know, we don't do the investigation as a school district. We're a school. And so we do not know about a positive test until we're notified by the county Department of Health. And so we have to wait on that. Now, if someone has symptoms, as soon as they have symptoms, we're sending them home. And then we're contacting everybody that's been with them, but we can't just shut school down just because someone has symptoms. You know, we've already had a few cases where someone had symptoms and they just had a fever and they were good in like a day or two. Got tested, nothing. There's nothing, you know. So we can't shut down every time we think. Now, once the positive test happens, then we're going to have to determine the trace contacting. How many people did this impact at our school? How many teachers did it impact? How many students did it impact? If we can trace contact it to a small amount, we're not shutting school down. If it's a huge trace contact, then that's when we locally as a school district, we're going to have to send out the announcement that we're going to have to shut school down for a select number of days based on what the recommendation is of the county Department of Health. So, yes, we will shut down school. Give me a more specific question. Yeah, if we get to a situation where we can't really truly trace contact, we have to shut school. We'll have to shut school down. Now, if it's something that's reported and the parents get on top of it before they send their child to school, and you know it's 48 hours. The transmission window is 48 hours, as recommended by CDC and what we should be doing. So the 48 hours is at the time of the positive test. So when you get the positive test, as soon as you get that, you go back to, if there's no symptoms, this is asymptomatic. If there's no symptoms, you go back 48 hours, trace contact. If there are symptoms before the positive test, and then you finally test positive, then we have to hope that the person who reports tells us when they first were feeling the symptoms, and then we have to go back 48 hours from when they felt the symptoms prior to the positive test. So none of us really know, when I say none of us, school districts across our country, school districts in Missouri, St. James School District, every situation is going to have to be a little bit different based on what the circumstance is. And we're going to try to make the best decision. We're all learning here. We're working hard trying to figure this out. And all this is a piece of paper or a few pieces of paper that's going to be shared electronically that's we think is good on July the 16th of 2020. On July the 17th, tomorrow, it will already be outdated, and we'll be constantly updating as we get information from the county health department, from CDC, from DESE, from other medical experts. This is a working document. We just really just want our parents to know that we are planning to go to school. The data supports our kids, from what we are reading and seeing, is that kids learn better in person. We all know that. There's no argument there. When you're talking to the Department of Health, they say there's a risk with everything that you do, and so there's a risk of possibly getting coronavirus outweigh students not being able to learn, and that could be a lifelong issue. Mental health, we're talking about mental health of isolation, of not learning and getting behind. And so we have to weigh those things on the education side versus being at risk of catching a virus. There's so many different things out there, but the preponderance of the research, it does support that students don't transmit to students as much as adults to adults. And then, so our big concern is the screening of, the health screenings of our adults, almost more than our health screening of our students. Because our adults are, you know, they are the ones that are, from what we're seeing, is transmitting more. So those are things we're learning, and we're trying to stay on top of it. Josh has done an outstanding job of doing even more research than just Tim and I and the administration. That we're trying to figure this all out. And he's when he sees something, he contacts us, and we get that into, we're going to get that into plan. Right now, we're looking at the, and I'm going to hand this off to Tim here in a little bit. We're looking at the option of we're talking about seated school, but the parents will be given the option of going virtual. And there's information to go along with that. There's a lot of information, actually. So we want to get all that communicated. And once we get this approved tonight, our plan is we are completing a slideshow that we're going to put on Facebook, Twitter, school website, that he and I are going to be narrating. All the information out there with the caveat at the end that that it will be additional updates will be posted on the website, on Facebook, as we get them. So right now we're looking at the two options, but if that's not working, if we get into September and that our plan is not working, we might have to look at a possible day cohort thing. A Monday, Group A goes. A Tuesday. We don't want to go there right now, though. Right now, we're talking seated school, and those who opt out can opt out. And so, I didn't know if you want to just kind of run through this, the plan quickly, hit the highlights.
So just real quick to kind of go over it, just to discuss some things with you guys. Obviously, for the sake of time and the fact you probably read over it, I don't want to go over everything, but kind of at the very beginning, as you can see, we decided that it would be the most important and easiest to communicate with our community by just having levels. That way, communication's a little bit easier. Instead of saying, you have to do this, this, and this, we can simply say, hey, we think Corona's over, we can move to level 1 and we can go back to traditional school. And hopefully we can make this available enough to the community that they can see it. Right now, if I were to guess, we would kind of be in a level 2 scenario. We would be in person, all buildings and classes would be open. Any student, kind of our plan, and we're going to ask the community just to help us out and try and decide within 2 weeks of the start of class if they think virtual is going to be their best option. We don't want to tie the community down to that, because obviously if we're going to say things can change, then things can change. But that is just something we want to ask of them to help us with finding out where our staff's going to be needed the most. So the virtual will stay the same no matter what phase we move into. Once you've said you're going virtual, just for educational purposes, we ask that you understand that you're making that commitment for at least a semester. The rationale behind that is if you're flip-flopping back and forth, it really does hinder the educational process. Reality of it is, though, somebody might feel perfectly fine sending their kid on August 25th, and then all of a sudden they get scared or we have an outbreak and they don't think that's the best option for them anymore. And at that point, we leave it up to parents and families to make those decisions. We don't want to step in the way there.
So they can go in at any time, but once they go in, they're in. Yeah. So they can decide later if they want to go start traditional. They can decide in October. The one other piece to that is we as a school district, even though we tell the parents once they're in, they stay in. If a student chooses and the parent choose online, and they don't have the ability to do it at home because of the resources that they don't have, we're going to encourage them to not do a paper packet situation. We want them to go on, we want them to come to traditional, and if they still don't want to do that, then they have that option not to come. And then we also can intervene even if they have the capabilities and they have internet and all, if they're not performing at the level we think they should be performing, the school district can intervene and say, you're going to need to come back to school, and we're going to provide you opportunities to not be close to others. We're going to be safe. And if things are bad in our community, we're shutting school down. So I think people need to realize we're not just going to stay open when things are bad. We're going to shut school down. You know, if we have a local outbreak, we have to go back to the closure. So sorry, Tim.
You're fine. Level 3 is kind of if there's more of a threat or concern within the community. That kind of goes back to the question that was asked earlier. Heaven forbid, but let's say we have an elementary student. If we're keeping them within their cohort, whatever grade that was, we can trace it to possibly a classroom, or if they were out and about a little bit more, we can still track it down to that class. So instead of shutting down learning for the entire building, we're going to be able to say, hey, second grade, you're going to be off tomorrow. That is not something you're used to seeing within the educational process, but talking with other school districts within the area, and just, you know, we kind of call it the COVID rule. Because of COVID, we're doing things that aren't very typical in education. That does, and that'll be communicated obviously as well, would not affect virtual. So AMI is kind of the term that came through education really strong last year. That's alternative methods of instruction. Our AMI this year will look a lot different than it did last year. The state of Missouri, you know, had just come up with that last year, and it was new to everybody, and it wasn't fair to throw kids in and just say, hey, this is what it's going to look like right away. But now that everybody's had time to digest it a little bit, there will be some more accountability from the school standpoint as well as the student standpoint with AMI this year. AMI would also be used, let's say just one specific student gets COVID, but it didn't affect the rest of the building. While that kid is on quarantine, we could put them on AMI so they're still getting an education. Those days will not count against a kid that is obviously gets COVID. So those are things that we've tried to keep in mind as we're doing this as well. Kind of the big hot topic question that I feel the community is going to want to know about is going to be mask. With mask, we do feel we've looked at CDC guidelines, we've looked at DESE recommendations, and we feel it is in the best interest of our kids to protect them and follow what trained professionals are saying to do, and that is wear a mask. So we're asking all elementary age students, if they're being transported on bus, to have their mask on during bus time when they enter the building. We're working on getting Germ-X just about in every corner of that building for hand sanitizing. Anytime they're in common spaces where they cannot distance themselves 6 feet. Some DESE recommendation that we got, when you have the little guys in class, they don't necessarily have enough strength to cough or sneeze far enough if you can 6 foot distance them. So we do feel it's safe to take off the mask. In the real young grades, the phonics, the seeing the words that your mouth move and being able to understand things, we understand that's how you learn to speak. That's how you learn to read. So it's not fair to tell the teacher you've got to wear a mask and they can't see your face when those things are important to education. So as long as the teacher's 6 feet away, they'll be able to take their mask off as well. With middle school and high school, it is a little bit different. Kind of the guideline says they do have the ability to cough and sneeze a little bit further. So anytime, even in a classroom, if they cannot keep themselves socially distanced, they will have to wear a mask when they're in the building.
I'd like to make a comment on if we were to go to cohort, or let's just talk about online, the choice, the parents will have the online option. If we have a large number, let's say in the elementary, we will have to make some staffing moves. And we were looking at virtual, if we have, let's say, 20 kids, we might take a teacher out of a classroom if the numbers work a certain way and make that teacher a virtual teacher. Dee, would you like to comment on that some?
Yeah, so kind of what he's saying, a lot of this, and that's why we're going to ask the community to help us out with and try and give us a 2-week window so we can make sure we can do what's best for the staff as well, because that's going to be imperative. that they have time to prepare for this. It could look very different. At the high school level, obviously you're moving from teacher to teacher. We've got a plan and put into place where the teacher can record themselves while they're teaching their class. They can be live with the children. So a virtual child, their expectation from 8 to 3 is going to be sitting in the classroom. But it's going to be from their house. They're going to be able to live stream with their teacher. They can communicate. To help protect our teachers, if some of them don't feel comfortable with the live stream, because you are accounting for other people being in a room and as children, so you never know what can happen. Some of those will be recorded. They'll have the ability to record that and then put it on later. But within that, they will still have time. We will make sure that they have time built in that they can still communicate with those virtual kids. And the younger grades, elementary per se, certifications typically go through elementary, so in any class within the elementary, so they're going to have the ability, like you said, if we have a lot of kids and we can break it into grade level. If we just have a medium amount of kids, it's going to get more interesting on how we break that up, but a lot of it just depends on the numbers that we have and what our need is.
I think it's been good for us to have the licking shootout and to require the masks, because we see how people will behave, and we're talking about adults, some that refuse to wear masks, but we have the rule, the licking shootout, you're going to wear a mask, and we've had to ask grown adults to leave, and they're not happy about it. So with the mask requirement, there's going to be some resistance. We understand that. The staff resistance is something we'll just have to work out because they work for the school district, and that's what we're going to do. Students is going to be a different issue because there will have to possibly be some sort of discipline for any student or parent that supports that of a student who refuses to wear the mask. So those things are going to be coming up, and we're going to have to deal with things we've never dealt with before.
And I will say, we didn't know how it would go either. It was really exciting, though, and a breath of fresh air the first day of summer school. I don't think I would be exaggerating when I said 80% of our kids showed up with a mask of their own. I was standing outside the elementary. A lot of those little kids were just excited, hey, look at this, because they had cool designs. Couple kids, I'd say the biggest hiccup we had is just a couple of those little fellas that we had to give masks to. My mask is a little bit bigger than his face, so that was a hiccup, but we figured that out, and that's going to be the story of COVID, guys. When we find out something doesn't work, we change it. So you know what we did? We found out that there's some vendors that sell little kid masks. So that's something we found out, and we ask that everybody's patient with us. We're going to try and be as transparent with you as possible, and kind of like he said, this plan could change tomorrow. Moving forward, obviously, if this is accepted, we also have a staff handbook that we're working on. Before we will push this out officially to the community, we're going to make sure that we push the inside version, the staff version of what does this really look like for you. We're going to push that out to them, and we're going to communicate that to them. Because the reality of this is we're going to have staff members that are scared and concerned too. So we want to have them, give them the opportunity to talk with their building administrator and get the answers from us. Because the worst thing we think we can do is have community members asking staff members, how's this going to work? And our staff walking around going, I have no idea. So that's something that we've talked about, and that's important to us, that we want to make sure that we can educate the staff, and then we're going to send this out pretty quick to the community.
I'd like to make a note on the very first page of on page 3 actually, of the introduction. The last little section there is the big sentence that I think parents are going to be looking at, which says students and families may choose to engage in their education in an online virtual format or in person. And so we here in just a little bit, we're going to ask the board to also approve our St. James virtual format as the preferred format of online learning. And we'll talk about that just a little bit more. It's a pretty big deal right now in our state. There's some outside agencies who are competing and trying to take students, and this is a problem. It's a money thing. This is about $6,500 per student in the year. So if we were to do the numbers based on the survey that we put out, let's say there's 75 total, just throw out 75 total students that the parents choose to do some outside learning format online, that's about $500,000 out of our budget. And we're paying teachers to be here. We're paying staff to be here. And so our survey is probably really about, on that 10%, is probably about 150 students. So now we're talking $1 million that could possibly be what we spend on online education that's not in our budget. We have staff. So it's very important that we have a very robust, good, well-designed St. James virtual learning format that we're going to be talking about here.
And the scary thing about other virtual formats, not all of the formats are necessarily aligned to Missouri standards. Not all of the classes that are offered at the high school level are necessarily what our kids need to graduate. So a student could go and they could get a good education from it, but it won't meet the needs that they need here. And the scariest part of that to me is we take a kid out of our system for a year and they come back. That can have more than just educational harm to a kid. You're taking a kid out of the system. You're taking them away from people at an adolescent age. It could lead to social issues down the road. So we hope to just give our kids an option to get what they need from us. Are there any other questions within the plan that you guys want me to touch on?
With every issue, every question, there's like 100 different ways of doing it. And so we understand that we don't have all the answers, but we are working hard to try to, when there's something that comes up, we're doing our best. And one thing that, the law says, according to IEPs with special education students, we are required to provide those services. And some of those services really aren't suitable in an online format, especially when we're talking about younger students, younger early childhood special education students. And so there's going to have to be some exceptions when we're talking about our teachers being with our students, even when we have a district closure. We might have to set up a schedule for our early childhood special education teachers especially to meet in person with our students with very controlled environment. So those are things we have to be thinking about, and by law we have to do.
And I promise I'll quit talking after this one, but I do think this is something important, especially in case anybody's watching, just so that they can hear about it now. With the alternative method instruction that we used last year, just like at least I can speak for most of the schools down I-44, it was set up so it cannot hurt your grade. We don't want to hurt someone's grade that truly couldn't get to us if we're shut down because of a closure, but at the same time, we want to hold kids accountable. So this year, it's gonna have more teeth in it. If a student just chooses not to get on there and do things, we're not going to fail them. We're going to give them an incomplete grade. That will give a student an ability to come to summer school, finish any of the work that they don't get done, and actually we're going to give them a second chance in the fact that they can come the next semester and still finish any of that work up, just in case they can't get that done in summer school. But if they choose not to come to summer school, they choose not to finish up the work the next semester, then the grade will be what they have. So we do want to be transparent about that. That recommendation comes from DESE as well. So we're trying to stay in line with what we've been given down to us.
Are there other online or alternative learning methods that you guys can adopt without losing that $1 million? Like, is there something you guys can adopt? I'm just worried about, you're asking a lot of your staff in a short amount of time if they're teaching in person and doing a virtual, if they've got to do something after hours. Not that our staff can't do it or that you can't figure out a schedule. I just didn't know if that was out there.
I'll let you answer that.
Yes, there is. To answer your question, yeah, there is. But we really feel that the system we have set up, we're not going to try and create extra work for our staff. Is it going to be flawless? No. Are we going to have to sit and ask them, is this really working the way that we think it is? Absolutely, we're going to have to do that. But I really think we've sat in the room with enough people and looked at enough scenarios. We're not going to ask for extra contract time out of our teachers. I really think right now we can do it during the 8 to 3 and still, you know, is it going to be a little bit extra preparing at the beginning of the year? Yes and no. Middle through high school, most of those teachers have their stuff on Canvas already. So unless they're new to the district, they probably already got it uploaded and they're ready to go. At the elementary level, yeah, there's a little bit of extra work there because you typically don't do as much online with kids. But I really think the plan we have can keep it done within the school day.
The elementary administrations they're scrambling, but they're organizing quickly to determine, and they've made some big decisions even today about the format that they're going to use, which then there's going to have to be a quick training. And yes, it is going to be some extra work for the teachers, but we have to be ready. That's the one thing that when we are contacted from a parent about an outside learning opportunity, we're going to be able, because of the way that we're preparing for this, we're going to be able to say, well, we offer that here.
And I'm a big believer in the product that we put out with our staff, and I think we can rise up to it.
Perfect, thank you.
I am so impressed with this. You answered a lot of my questions that I had written down. I'm really happy that you changed it. The middle school and high school has to wear masks.
So honestly, that change came about yesterday. The original plan we had in classrooms that everybody could take them off, and to feed into what he said, that it could change tomorrow.
Sure.
Literally after our meeting yesterday, Josh met with Dr. Johnson and said, hey, they changed it. So
Good.
that change actually came yesterday.
Well, I'm really happy about that. I think that's a great idea, and I think you guys have done a wonderful job putting this all together. It's like you said, it's going to be tough to know where we stand on this, but
I feel like, thank you, Barb. I feel like we've done a very good job being ahead of the game.
Yes.
Mr. Webster has some great experience from where he was at Cuba before. So, speaking of that those online options, he's already done a really good job and has experience in talking to parents about, hey, we have these options too, and a lot of times parents don't know. And they're like, oh, okay,
right,
and they're not combative for the most part. They just want their children to get the best opportunity. They feel that what we did in all schools with the AMI in spring wasn't good enough. It wasn't. None of us were really prepared. It's going to be robust. It's going to be as good as I think any school in the area, in the state. Not to brag too much, but we have a lot of districts around us that are asking us. We're kind of leading the way in many ways. We're ahead of the game. We're not trying to win a race. We're not trying to be first, but you know, we strategically waited. There's some districts that put something out way too early when things weren't where they are now, and they're changing. You know, Columbia School District and Waynesville School District, there's lots of changes already happened. They did a great job, but they're having to redo a whole lot. So we're going to have to redo a whole lot. But I think that what we're doing right now is going to be the way things are going to be for a little while. So,
good job.
The only other thing I was going to add is on extracurricular activities. I heard people talking in the licking shootout about if they may just keep their kids at home. That was in our student handbook already, and that's in here, I noticed.
Extracurricular, our policy says that students have to be here for a half a day. Unless the board wants to change that policy, I haven't heard of a lot of districts that are changing that. I mean, that's something that could be considered, but and if that's something, discussion, we can talk about that. But right now, if a student chooses virtual, if the parent and student choose the virtual, they're not eligible to play in extracurriculars. We have talked, about maybe some clubs that are not MSHA related that could be virtual, like the photography club and things like, there could be some participation virtually, but not with the MSHA activities and then competition activities and things like that. So, and as far as the MSHA goes, AD Greg Harlan, he's going to be meeting next Wednesday, I believe. There is a statewide mission meeting with all athletic directors about the future of sports, about this fall. We do not know. MSHA did come out with a document of guidelines and recommendations yesterday with that they are planning on coming back as of right now with sports in the fall with schools that can do it. The rule is if the school closes, they cannot participate while they're in a closure in any kind of sports activities. Once they come out of that closure, then they can then return to competition. There has been no indication yet that we're going to postpone any seasons, any competitions to January. You know, I know that's kind of been a university thing going on right now, but that we don't know really what MSHA is going to do. We'll find out next week.
Aye.
Aye. I make a motion.
Second.
Correct. So, due to the closure, we're creating what we're calling the STJ Virtual, which we feel can meet any of the needs of the students. So we feel anybody that is concerned at that time, we just want to let them know that we have that option and that we can meet any of those needs of their students.
Aye.
Don't have a lot on this. The city did notify me at Monday's city council meeting that they did go ahead and put extra money into their budget to support their 25% share of an SRO. Our share amount did go up. We budgeted $35,000. The total cost is over $60,000, so we're looking at about $45,000. So it's going to end up costing us more. After all that's happened, though, I feel that we've saved some money with PD and not doing some things that we've done in the past. I didn't want it to be more, but as much work has gone into trying to get this SRO, and we have to assume that we're going to be in school. You know, obviously, you hear people say, well, if you shut school down, you don't need an SRO. You know, I still think we do. So with the one SRO, and I do appreciate the city for working hard to add that to their budget. That was not an easy thing. They did struggle and they debated, and they had to come up with a way to get some extra money. And if they can come up with an extra $20,000, I feel like we need that presence. So I would like to go ahead and proceed unless the board directs me otherwise with an SRO.
Can I ask you a question? Okay, so are we gonna keep one of our current SROs? Are we going back to the hiring? I mean, did Ron take them back? Are we gonna have to hire a new one?
Ron is recommending one of our present
Okay.
SROs. So the relationships will already be there, and we're happy with that. Any questions on that? Thank you. Not a lot here, other than just wanted to display the student handbooks and the personnel handbooks. The main thing is that policy is approved, and that we ask the principals to update their handbooks every year, and the only thing they have to make sure they do is not go against policy. So any of the procedures in their handbooks that change are just procedures that don't need to be board approved, but just here they are. And so if you were able to go through, and if there's any questions or concerns, really what we need to do is the procedures can be changed at any time, and especially before the school year. So as board members, if you see something that needs to be changed in student handbooks or personnel handbooks, we can make those procedures change unless it goes against policy. So any comments on handbooks? Yes.
I had a couple of teachers ask me on their sick leave.
On the personnel handbook?
Yeah, personnel, on the, yeah. Now, I want to make sure I understand this correctly. If someone has been exposed, or if they have to go into quarantine, they get 14 days, is that correct?
Well, there's different things that can happen. It's 14 days with pay. There's no reduction in pay. If it's classified, it's 14 days or 80 hours. If it's staff, it's 14 days. Now, the choice that someone will have to make is here's the difficult thing, if there's a direct contact. So let's say there's a direct contact, the employee did not test positive, but someone within their house tested positive. According to the Department of Health, they have to quarantine as long as they're living in the house with the person that tested positive. And then the kicker is they have to, upon the date of the negative test of the person that they're living with that tested positive, on that date that they test negative, the person they live with, the direct contact person, who in this case, this scenario, our employee, then their 14 days starts. So in some cases, a required quarantine could last a month.
Right.
So the issue with the emergency leave that's required that we pay, that the employer pays, is if they're direct contact that live within the house, if they cannot quarantine away from the person that lives in their house, they remain in quarantine beyond the 14 days, and then they have to take personal leave after that. And so they can take
After that 14 days.
after the 14 days.
Okay, so you probably answered this, and I am missing it. You had the 14 days, then they test positive.
It starts over. And there's FMLA that's designed just for COVID all the way through December. That we don't, we're going to be. This is all going to happen. These scenarios are going to happen, and I haven't had that happen yet, but it will happen. And so we're just going to have to. We call Department of Health and say, this is a new one. We're not sure about this. Give us guidance. So
I just think there's some confusion, and I think there's some people who are concerned about, are they going to deplete their sick leave because of all this?
And so there are choices that have to be made. If the person that lives in the house with someone who does test positive, if they choose not to remove themselves from that person, then that's a choice. Even though it is husband and wife sometimes, it is a choice. Now, there are ways, and it can be approved, if they can explain to the Department of Health. Now, we don't do the investigation. We just get the information. In many cases, we might not even be able to know who it is, other than the employee has to give permission to the Department of Health to talk to us for FERPA, due to FERPA, the release of information. But once someone tests positive, the employee is instructed to contact the employer. But we cannot talk to the Department of Health until that employee gives us permission to talk about them to the Department of Health. So those are little scenarios too, that in some cases we might have to just talk scenarios with the Department of Health instead of about that individual person. So,
You may want to, when they have the teachers meeting, I'm sure you will do this, try to explain that to
yeah,
some of the teachers, because I think, and staff, just staff in general, because I think there's some confusion.
so just heads up on the return to school, my return to school speech. I try to keep things positive and get everybody pumped up about, yay, we're back at school. Unfortunately, some of my speech is going to be, hey, let's talk about all the new COVID stuff. And that'll be one of them. So thanks for letting me know that that's something
Just,
to.
there's some
Yep,
concerns.
yep.
And I don't know if, well, I'll ask this later, never mind.
Okay. Any other questions about handbooks? Like I said, if you have any concerns, let us know. Moving on, the facilities report. We have some things to discuss. Mr. Westaluca.
Wish you guys could see my face to how excited I am about this topic, just because it says post-construction. And just the idea that that is going to be a life soon, that we can have post-construction talks. I mean, I'm just excited. So the facilities that we have that are going to be unused, I guess, is that the word? Not utilized after construction, is both of our current Tiger Cubs buildings. The fourplex over by the wood shop and the, I guess I'll call it the MASH house, even though I know Josh doesn't like that word because we shouldn't. But anyway, Tiger Cubs 1, Tiger Cubs 2. So Dr. Johnson and I, been approached by the alternative school program. They would really like to utilize the Tiger Cubs 1, the fourplex facility, rather than their alternative school building for space, classroom size, and the big one was he loves the kitchen, because when they were across town, they had the life skills program. They were able to actually have a class around kitchen. So I guess I'm just letting you guys be aware that we are going to probably move the alternative school program into the Tiger Cubs 1 facility. He, at this time, won't use all the classrooms at space that are in there, so then it would still kind of maybe be flexible for some overflow. I'm picturing maybe the ag department, if they have a big class, maybe they need to, because I know that's a problem sometimes with the metal shop, that the classroom back in the shop is pretty small, and I know that the teachers last year had some problems with too big class. Maybe they could utilize some of that space. But then that still leaves 2 facilities. We have the alternative school building and Tiger Cubs 2. The Tiger Cubs 2 building, and I guess that's really the reason why I'm having this conversation, why this topic even came up. We had Church of God approach us that they would like to possibly run their after-school program out of that building. They were like, well, hey, it's already set up for school, and so I know you have some more details on they're wanting.
Yeah, it's not immediate. They're not thinking immediate. They're just thinking, they're looking for something different than what they have right now with their space. And I guess they had a meeting, they were brainstorming that they didn't know what we were going to be doing with that building. Right now, there's no way. Even at the beginning of the school year, there's no way. We're still slowly going to be holding, it's going to be kind of a storage as we slowly get the stuff over to the new early childhood, as they sort through all their supplies. But it's something that maybe down the road we could look at if we don't find another use for the district. And it could be really beneficial for kids. It's right there. That's just a discussion topic only at this time.
Yep. So that's just wanted you guys to be aware of that. And then we still have the alternative school double wide. I will probably be, or Dr. Johnson will probably try to see from within the school on what that space could. We'll probably be asking for some ideas from. I know people have asked me, different departments, and what are we doing with that? So I know there's people out there with ideas within our school. So I'm going to try to go fishing and find what people's ideas are, and be able to let you guys know. So this was just me informing you that we are looking at what to do with those buildings. So I guess this is this is my first fishing trip. Do you guys have anything that you're thinking, or have anybody even thought about it? I know, I mean, this is a long time coming, so has anybody thought of any you would like, so, and that what, which one? All of it or everything? Okay. Okay. Well, it's not. I remember when we put the alternative building there. I mean, it was temporary. I mean, that was the idea. You know, yes, we needed it. It was put there, but it is a modular home. So I mean, yeah, it is a and if you want to go there, the fourplex where when Mel Carnahan was put in, I'm sure that was a temporary facility. So I mean, yes. So that is I guess a topic that we need to discuss. If we want those gone, I need to know so we can. I don't want to move somebody in there and get them all set up. Hey, guess what? We're actually, you know, getting this out of here. So I guess how would you want me?
We need to have some future discussions on, you know, we're working on our CSIP, right? But we need to have some kind of finalization discussions on the direction we want to go with these buildings. I do like that idea long term because you take them off the records of utilities.
I mean, utilities and repair. I mean, those are some of. Well, yes.
Can I ask
those
a
are
maybe
costly.
Controversial question here? The MASH house, Tiger Cubs 2,
Yeah,
is
Tiger
that
Cubs
right?
2,
Okay.
yes.
So it has a kitchen and it has classrooms set up. Is that not
Yes.
something we could move our alt school to as a more permanent?
The only, I've asked that as well. It's further away from the high school. They like the idea of being close to high school for their, just, I guess, the lunches and, because I don't know, I don't want to speak about the alternative school program, but I know it's not like, from what I understand, they're not there all day, not all of them. The credit recovery kids bounce from the high school there, so is that correct?
That's correct. That would be logistical, a little bit of cause a little bit of a problem. Not a bad idea.
But yes, it's.
No, that's not true. We didn't have a lot of kids doing half days. You know, some kids they're coming in the mornings and leaving, and then or then coming in the afternoons. So they're not a lot of back and forth, to my knowledge. I think we had a few, but not very many.
On Tiger Cubs too, if you decide to move the direction of renting that out, at that point, if it is going to somebody that is not going to use it, they're basically going to use it for commercial purpose, it sounds like. I assume you would open that up for bid, basically. You wouldn't want to take the first, I would assume, right? You would want to make that available for bid.
And I would think that I would agree with that, and that was the laundry list of questions. You know, our insurance. I mean, we're not in house rental business. You know, so that's a whole other side. I don't know that we. So yeah, we would have to.
So follow-up question. I assume you just don't want to give up the real estate just because of where it's located. I would agree with that.
It's right there, right on the frontage, and we don't want to make it like you know, I know Wes would like to make it his office, but do we want our maintenance office right there, right in front, you know, because then trucks are going to be there and they're going to start stacking, you know, because that's what they do, because that would be useful space.
Well,
so.
Yes, I don't want in my office. We need storage. I mean,
we need storage area, but do we want storage area on the
for
frontage?
paper storage. I don't need my office there, but you know, but yeah. So we've thought through different options as a classified staff, central office. You know, almost have the food service and me and tech. You know, all in that facility or something, and you know, so we've. Yeah, so we could take out some walls.
Actually, that's not. That's a really good idea.
Yeah.
It would be front It would be front, it could say St. James Board of Education. Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
I like it. These are the discussions we need to have. I like
That's why we brought
that's
this
good.
up, because that maybe moves
Keep
the central
thinking.
office.
Keep those brains working. We're going to come up with some good ideas. You had some other facility, just updates, getting ready for the school year,
Well,
right?
I was just gonna open up for question. I mean, you guys got the project update. I didn't know if,
I
now
know,
that you sat here, do you have any other questions now that they're, gone, and you can ask me and put me on the spot?
no, I know you were about half joking a couple times ago about supplies, like getting enough cleaner and hand sanitizer and all that. Are you having issues finding that for summer school
So-
and the school year?
I don't know if these guys are gonna vouch, but I am yes, this is a good plan, but we've ordered it, but I'm not promising it's because I don't have it. So yes, I mean, we have the disinfectant that we need, so I'm good with the cleaning side. Hand sanitizer, I've ordered 2 different versions, and I'm hoping that one comes in before I've ordered like these stations that we have. I'm hoping the dispensers come in and we're going to install those in as many classrooms or at least pods at the elementary, as many as possible. But like I said, don't have them yet. Also ordered a bunch of bottles of hand sanitizer in case those don't come in. Those are supposed to come in, so we should have something. I've went ahead and told the principals, if you guys see something, just, for now, let's just get what we can get until I can get the station set up. I've been ordering these masks. Those seem to be coming in just fine. If that's something that we're going to be requiring and having available for students, and I don't think masks will be an issue. Cleaner, disinfectant's not an issue. I added another layer of the disinfecting as far using the electrostatic sprayers. I do not have those yet. I actually have 2 that are supposed to come in tomorrow. And how we will be utilizing those is the between class cleanings and the added cleaning that we're going to be doing for during the school day. I have definitely everything that we would need to deep clean every evening, as we always have in the past. That's all covered, but it's this added extra layer of the more frequency. We are going to have to use the sprayers to speed up that process, or I'm trying to work through the logistics of this plan, and it's just the scenarios in my head. I'm trying to get the equipment that we can. So hand sanitizer, I've ordered it. Hopefully it'll be here. Nothing else really seems to be a problem right now, except for this week. Rubber gloves, my suppliers are telling me those are, so I went ahead and ordered this today. Actually, I sent the order in to get us extra gloves, because if we do have to ask teachers to help us clean, because I don't have the staff to clean every area as much as the plan says, I'm going to have to enlist the help of our other staff to help us clean some areas, is my goal, meaning the teachers might have to wipe down something for me between classes or however that works. Well, I'm going to have to provide them now with gloves and disinfectant and even just spray bottles. You would think that that'd be easy, but when you have the entire world ordering them, well, guess what? They're not available all of a sudden. So all the suppliers are, we're ramping up production, and so I'm hopeful on a few things. I definitely have what we need to get us started, except for the hand sanitizer, but I truly feel it will be here because I've ordered 2 different versions. So does that answer your question? I am not joking in any way, shape, or form. I am worried. I was worried before. Things have started to show up. My disinfectant showed up. I just don't like being the guy to promise something that I'm waiting for somebody else to give me when I don't have it. So, like the glove thing, they said that the price is probably going to go up 57% for gloves starting next week. I'm like, okay, 57%, that's a pretty good jump, so They said, so if you, well, anyway, yes. So when things start happening like that and cost starts going up and we need more of it, I start stressing out. So
I would like to compliment Wes, one of our mask companies. You know, they're charging the going rate, and Wes found on Amazon a much cheaper rate, almost half of what we were paying, and we confronted the company, and they're matching that. They're giving us
yeah,
a
they
refund.
were like, well, you can't get them. So I went ahead and ordered them, and when they got here in 2 days, and I took a selfie with them and said, yes, I can. So they're, oh, well, that's a
And they're the
I was like,
exact
yeah,
same mask.
We can get them. So.
Can we get a picture of that selfie?
So any other facility project related, anything?
Good luck. Thank you.
I'm gonna need it. Okay.
Thank you. And lastly here, the MSBA news, the annual conference. I believe Carl would like to talk a little bit about the annual conference that's going to be held in Kansas City, but now they just switched it. That it can also, it's also available virtual, the whole conference. So that's a discussion to have. So do you want to talk about that, Carl?
Okay. So I did email all you guys, I think. I don't know if you got it and read it, but we're just curious what your all's opinion is and what your personal desire is as far as going to the conference. As I mentioned, we have the motel rooms reserved right now, but we will probably need to notify them around mid-August, I think, if we're not going to use them. We have not registered for the conference yet, but there's no penalty for registering late. So that being said, they're now offering, as of this weekend, they announced a virtual attendance at the conference. I'm not sure exactly what all that will entail now. They talked there, I think there's 84 different sessions that are going to be available. Whether those are all going to be available virtually, I don't know. And of course, it would be limited because they're talking about streaming, because they just don't have the capability to do it, but they're going to pick 2 sessions in every hourly session and stream those for virtual attendance. So you're stuck with what they pick for the virtual attendance. So just kind of curious what your thoughts are for your personal, and then as far as others' attendance too. I did identify, normally I would say John should go because he'd be a new board member, and that's a great time to do the in-person training, but now that they've waived that, everything can be done online. But there is still a benefit for someone like John to go, just to get introduction to other board members, get a feel for what Missouri Public Schools is all about and going on. And then mine right now, I'm still feeling like I would like to attend because there are a couple other things. Number one, delegate assembly. They may allow that to be done virtually. And then the president's, we always have a separate session the day before to do that. But if I don't get any value, if I don't see any value in the independent sessions for myself, those 2 things to me they're not important enough for me to go. And I just, in my opinion, I want to do everything we can to keep morale high. I know we've canceled a lot of professional development for our staff.
That's kind of my thought. Since we've canceled a lot for the staff, I don't know the real purpose of us going to a conference. I think it looks bad. You know, we're going to go, but by the way, we canceled over here. So I think that this year we just forget it. I'm going to forget it anyway, but I mean, as a board, I don't want to go personally. So
No, I agree. It's a great team building experience, I think, for us, but I think we've already painted a message to our district. Maybe we can invite Tony Gonzalez to come speak down here at graduation or something. So, I'm with you on that one, Barb. So.
The only exception I would think would be with the new board member.
Right.
If we wanted one to go, and then possibly the delegate. You know, there are some required PD that we are still doing, you know, with teachers. So, you know, there are still some PD that's happening, but the ones that are just we want to go to because it is good, that's what we're canceling. So, but I definitely respect what you said. So we'll work that out. You guys can make the decision on that. So. Lastly, the MSBA, they've been getting a lot of guidance on the reopenings plans and how there's so many different ideas out there across the state. No school district's doing the same thing. I will say that the majority of school districts in our area are doing similar things to what we're doing. Big thing is health and safety concerns. We got to hit that. Emotional issues, that's the big one. With the transition back to school, it could be very difficult for some of these children because the younger children are learning a new normal now, and it's going to be hard on them to come back to a structured environment. And so we have to provide the necessary accommodations for those kids as they deal with this transition. They're just young little kids, you know, little babies trying to adapt to our world here that's unpredictable. So there's a lot of discussion about the homework gap, and I think there's a little bit of a misconception, and I'll be done. More than 20% of Missouri students do not have adequate internet access at home, and I think we tend to point fingers at local school districts that you need to provide that. We financially really cannot do that. There's no guarantees that we're going to get that money back through COVID. So there is a push at the national level for the E-rate program to do a better job nationally to help all of our families get internet access. It's more of a right. And, you know, they used to say no child left behind. Now they say leave no child offline. That's the new thing. Leave no child offline. It's a national push, and it's something we need to just remember that we have responsibilities here, but we can't do it all. And we don't have the capacity, the money to do that. So if there's someone out there that has the magic potion on that, if they can share that information with us, and we'll do it too. But we haven't been able to figure out how to do that yet. So that's it for my report. Any questions?
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, that's all we had on adjourn. I got a motion from Tim and a second from Tina to adjourn. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.